How's it going, Internet? Today's video, we're going to be talking about burst statistics, authentication bypass to admin account takeover. This is a pretty common type of vulnerability. I see this pretty regularly, at least a couple times a month. This is rated CVSS 9.0. That is critical. That is, if this vulnerability is exploited on your website, complete site takeover, right? That is like the worst case scenario. That is critical. This vulnerability was released about a month ago, May 13th. It's currently the middle of June 2026. And in the video, I'm going to go over exactly how the vulnerability is exploited, where the vulnerable code lives in the system, and I'm going to show you a method that you can use to protect your website from zero-day vulnerabilities just like this, other zero-day authentication bypass vulnerabilities now and going forward. It's not special rules or signatures that target specific vulnerabilities. It's a method that you can apply to your website that prevents account takeover and authentication bypass for any vulnerability type on WordPress. So let's take a look at the actual exploit. I'm going to show you what it is and exactly how it works. We're going to do that by creating a backdoor administrative user on this website right here. And let's go ahead and take a look at our current administrative users. So let's go here. We're going to open a new tab. These are our admin users. Currently we have two. The admin user that we're currently logged in as and this wheel user. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this vulnerability to create a new admin account. So let's take a look at that code. All this code is basically doing, this is some PHP code that's going to post to our vulnerable site URL. It's going to create this new username. Hacked admin is going to be the username we're going to create. This is the password. And this is the user agent we're going to be using to make those requests. This could be anything, it doesn't matter. And what we're going to be doing is posting our new user password, the administrator privilege or role, and our email address to this endpoint. Now, normally WordPress would block this because you have to be logged in to post new users to the user creation API endpoint. But there's two little tiny tweaks we're going to make to this request that's going to tell burst statistics to impersonate an existing admin to create this new admin. So let's take a look at that. If we scroll down here, these are the headers we're going to send in our request, and there's only two headers, and there's one really important one. First one is this xburst main WP. We add this to tell the burst statistics plugin to handle this request. And the next one is the authorization header. This is just straight HTTP basic authorization. If you've ever seen a pop-up on a website that says enter your username and password in a little modal box, that's exactly what this is. And all it is a base64 encoded version of username. In this case, we're using admin, which, if you remember over here, is a valid administrative user. And then any password, could be anything. In this case, I've chosen the password. This password is potentially invalid. It could be anything. That's all we have to do. This will bypass and allow us to perform any action on this website we want to as the administrative user. So we're going to take that. It's going to post the data. And then all it's going to do is it's going to print the response out. So if we go over here and we execute our code, JQ is a Linux command line that basically does pretty printing of JSON text, which is the output from that API call is JSON. We're going to press enter, and here's our newly created administrative user. The username is hacked admin. It has every single capability on the website. It can do anything, and we already have our user page is already created for it. So if we go back to our website and we refresh our administrative list, here's our new hacked admin user. And it is, in fact, an administrator. So let's go ahead and delete that. Confirm deletion. And let's take a look at exactly how this vulnerability works. So this is the vulnerable code right here. This is copied directly out of the plugin. And I'm going to walk you through exactly what this is. It's pretty simple. This variable right here is our authorization header, which this is just the basic authentication line that we got over here. That's this line right here, right? That variable is going to be equal to this string. So we go back. This does the base64 decoding that basically turns this into this. Then we're going to explode on the colon. That's going to split it into two parts. And we say the first part, or part 0, is our username, and our second part, or part 1, is the password. So all it does is the username is now going to be admin, and password is going to be this password. And then this is correct. It calls the WordPress Authenticate application password endpoint with the username and password. That's correct. What's wrong is that if this application password is incorrect, this function returns nil, not a WordPress error. So this check for is WordPress error says, null is not a WordPress error, so this never fires. And then it comes down here and it says, hey, give me a WordPress user for that user, for our admin user. User is now a valid admin user. It says, hey, can that user manage burst statistics? Well, administrators can do anything. So this is true. So we're going to skip this. And now we're going to say, hey, you know what? For the rest of this request, execute everything as that user ID. So basically impersonate that admin user. And that's it. Now we can do any action we want to. But I'm going to show you a plugin that you can install on your website today that will protect yourself from this vulnerability and any vulnerability like it going forward. Because what it does is anytime a WordPress impersonation function or authentication system fires and fails, it will block the code for you. So rather than depending on this code right here, it's going to fail right here. As soon as this set the user, it's going to look back at the result from this call using WordPress filters, and it's going to say that failed, and it's going to disallow this, and it's going to block it. So if we go over here to our website, and we can look at our dashboard here, we can see our, let's see if we can see that request that we just made. Oh, well, we're excluding the current host, so let's go ahead and show those again. And let's scroll down here. Here's our burst statistics takeover request, which posted to this endpoint, and here's our username and password, and that was allowed, right? So that went through. So I'm going to show you exactly how you can block that. If we go over here to our settings page for our BitFire plugin, we can scroll down here, and this is one of the pro features. It has this thing called runtime application self-protection. Go down here to login and account protection, and we're going to check that. What that does is it inserts filters and hooks for every WordPress authentication function, and if they fail, BitFire will do the blocking and not depend on the plugin to do it correctly. So now, when we go back to our code and we attempt to run the exact same exploit, we get, oh, that's invalid numeric literal. Let's see what the response was. The response is the BitFire block page, right? Request blocked by BitFire because the authentication failure, right? So it detected that authentication failure and blocked the request for you. Now, when we go back to our dashboard and we look for, let's go ahead and exclude that. Here's our burst statistics takeover, and it was blocked because of the RASP authentication failed, right? And if we look here at our user account, the hacked user was not created. So that's what I got for you guys today. I'm going to be trying doing these videos at least once a week where I come out with current vulnerabilities, recent vulnerabilities. I'm going to walk you through them. I'm going to show you how they work, what they can do to your website, and I'm going to show you one method to protect yourself from that vulnerability going forward. Thanks, guys. All the best. Cheers.